Welcome, 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 everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk. My name is Pawel the CAT with my very incredible co-host.
My name is Evan REV Renaerts, as they call me. You can reach me at REV on X and at hockey_2 for my great pal here, Pawel the CAT. How you been? How's your week been?
It's been busy. There's a lot going on, but I'm happy to be here, talk all things hockey, because we've got a jam-packed show, Evan, and we are close to the end of the regular season and close to the postseason, the playoffs.
Okay, hang on. We do this. I apologize if you're following junior hockey, if you're following in Europe, when he says we're close, he's talking all NHL.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, well, the life is more than just the NHL. We are Two Guys in Hockey Talk, covering all things hockey. So, yes, while the NHL is close to the end of their season, there is a lot of leagues that are either beginning themselves this week, have already started, and some have already well into the playoff seasons, including over in the KHL, which we'll talk about a little bit later on.
Now, you can find us here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X / the old school Twitter. As Evan likes to tell me, it should not be called anymore. But you guys, we are here. We've got articles regularly posted. You can follow us. All our former guests that have ever been on the show, you can find their profile, their episode. If you want to go back and rewatch, there's some great episodes over the past few seasons that we have done. And of course, we thank all of our sponsors. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, feel free to reach out to us at twoguysinhockeytalk.com at gmail.com. We love hearing from you. We'd love to connect. Now, Evan, there's a lot to get to, not just all around the rink, as you like to talk, but in the NHL. So I think we should start with something that you said would not happen this season. And yet I told you it would happen this season. And that is the Mr. Great Eight, Alex Ovechkin, has finally beat Wayne Gretzky's record of 894 goals. He scores against Ilya Sorokin. Wayne Gretzky is in the building. The Islander fans, props to you guys for cheering him on. It was great. I saw some great tweets all around. The way he celebrated with his teammates. It's great. It's a great accomplishment. And as Gretzky has said, records are made to be broken. What are your thoughts on what this man has been able to accomplish? And does he now enter your Mount Rushmore of all-time greats or even top all scorers of all time in the game?
So I would just like to give a trophy to the best hand, not because it's a hard hand, but one of the best hands in hockey for scoring. So hands up if you appreciate the goal scoring of Alexander Ovechkin. Now, when you're asking me, is he in that Mount Rushmore? Guys, he's not in my top 10 of Mount Rushmore. I don't even know. I don't know how you put a guy into Mount Rushmore when he is very one-dimensional. And the other part, and so can I even say this? Look this up while I'm doing this. Go to Elite Prospects right now. Pull up Alexander Ovechkin, okay? What are the most goals in a single season he's ever scored? Maybe some of you Cap fans out there or some of you historians know this really well. I'd like to know, what is the number? I'm really curious here. Now,
65.
65. One season he had 65. Never again did he have 60 or more, did he?
Yeah, in the 2007-2008, which I believe they were the President's Trophy winner in that year.
Yeah, and that was his second season. So he came into the NHL in 2000. Well, hang on.
Third season. That was his third season.
Was that his? Hang on. He didn't play till what is that? What it's showing online?
Yeah. 2005-2006 was his first season, and this was 2007-2008.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. And because the lockout was 04, right? No, that was 04-05. Okay, because he came in with Crosby, but he was 1 year older and had played a year in the Russian league with it. So if you notice that, this is what I think. He is the guy who has the most goals, but he is not the greatest goal scorer. Because you have the most goals doesn't make you. Can you please go to Mr. Gretzky and look how many goals that guy scored a season? Okay, let's just do that. Pull that up. Now, what we're going to find, now I know some of you are going to have an argument to this because you're going to go, yeah, but Gretzky played when goalies couldn't stop anything. Gretzky, you know, there was more goals, right? Okay.
Yeah.
My question is, did they clutch and grab? Did they clutch and grab during Gretzky's time? Yep. Was there a two-line offside? I'm sorry. 80% of you don't even know what a two-line offside is because they got rid of it. So you guys are worried about these offsides that get called back on the blue line on goals? Well, you actually had to go from the two-line meant both the red and the blue. And you had to slow down. You couldn't make the rushes that they have in the breakout passes. And they clutched and grabbed, never got penalized for it. It was a way of life. And if you look at him compared to everybody else, and can I just say this? 1 assist more per game, while he still scored as many goals as Ovechkin has now in his career. If you look at the points, goals per game, Mr. Mike Bossy, best goal scorer ever. Problem? He didn't have a long enough career. I don't. If Ovechkin continues, say for a couple more years, he's never going to be able to score that same point goals per game. However, he's probably one of the best longevity guys, like Gordie Howe. Can I say I put him just below Gordie Howe, and that's because Gordie Howe played an all-around game. Yeah. So those are my reasons why you're not the best goal scorer because you have the most goals. A best goal scorer is a guy who can just literally score all the time. And if Gretzky spent less time setting people up and more time scoring, he would have been the only one scoring all the time.
A few things that I just wanted to add to that. So I believe one of the things that was kind of talked about by producer Drew on Twitter /X, who helps Steve Dangle make his videos, and he's a big Colorado guy. He indicated that because Ovechkin has now had many seasons of 50+ goals, more than Wayne, I believe, and even Maurice Rocket Richard. Sorry, they're indicating that they should rename the Rocket Richard to the Alexander Ovechkin Award. Maurice, I think, did it 5 times, shortened season, different era, of course, and of course he was a legend in his own making, but I would agree that could be an award that could be renamed for the future. Not necessarily now, maybe when he retires in a few years, let it simmer, because I think that is something that he is known for. Certainly you can nitpick Ovechkin's game, but he has really turned it around. I mean, I remember for the longest time in the middle of his career, when, the Caps were always on fire, but always battling against the Pittsburgh Penguins, one of the biggest rivalries, couldn't get past them, just had a hard time. And people talked about, is he good enough? Can he make it happen? And he did. He continued to produce, and now he's become an icon of the game. He's become very inviting to a lot of young players. He hasn't missed a lot of games. I think up to like no more than 40 in his whole career. So he's got the longevity. Even with a broken leg this year, which, a lot of people doubted that he could even make it, which is why we discussed it at the beginning of the season. But he's really just come on his own and really figured out his game. And the Caps are really on fire. And credit to the team, Brian McClellan and the organization, because they went out and made a big trade. And a lot of people were like, oh, Pierre-Luc Dubois here for our goalie, Darcy Kemper. Some of these guys that we're going to bring in, is this really going to help us be competitive, especially after last year where they were minus 37, barely squeaked into the playoffs? Well, they're clinched now. They've clinched the Metro. They're on fire. I don't think they'll win the President's Trophy, but they don't need that. Right now, they want to get Ovi his second cup, and that's all that their focus is on. And Spencer Carberry would be one of my head coaches to be nominated for Jack Adams.
I think Jack Adams, hands down, Carberry gets it this, in my opinion. I think you got to remember.
I have a few others that we could talk about. One is Travis Green in Ottawa.
Yeah, so when you look, he barely makes the playoffs. Sorry, they've had a team that should have made the playoffs. Spencer has taken a team that would have been playoff wild card, made them one of the elite in the top 2 in the East. Now, I don't go by just record. I'm talking about how they play the game. Dylan Strome. I mean, he's made him into a star player. The guy had the ability, and he's taken a reclamation project because Chychrun essentially wasn't playing that well. So if Travis Green was so great, why didn't he play well there? right?
100%. For all you
So,
Oilers fans, look at the Churkin deal because that's what Bouchard's going to get and probably north of. But that's just something secondary. But I agree. But you know what? You have to also give credit to the team because they've really got players like
yeah,
Alexei Potras, who has come out of nowhere from Belarus and really, 76 games, 30 goals, 36 assists. Like, that's unreal. Connor McMichael, who people knew that he had a little bit of a hard time because of his size, getting into the league and really finding his footing. This year, 77 games, 25 goals, 30 assists. You've got Rasmus Sandy, who came over from Toronto and people, kind of gave up on him. He was a big piece. He's coming in, he's playing top minutes, 4 goals, 24 assists, plus 21. He's really made an impact. Andrew Giappani, what's it called? Calgary kind of gave up on him. Just my last one. 14 goals, 13 assists, 27 points. A depth piece. You love to see it. Go ahead.
I was thinking, I don't know if you remember when the Washington Capitals were coming into Edmonton and they said to Ovechkin, what do you think? The Oilers have Connor McDavid. And he says, yeah, well, we got Connor McMichael. So, Ovi's always been great, but, especially for a soundbite. Can I just say, now it's time to get ready for the second goal watch for him because there is a record all-time goal scoring, including playoffs, that he is now going to go up against again. I think he definitely will bypass Gretzky as the most amount of goals in NHL history, not regular season. Right now, we're talking regular season stats, not with playoffs. Because remember, Gretzky was in quite a few playoffs. But long playoffs. So it is hard to be able to have the same amount of goals for Ovechkin because their team has not been as good overall against a lot more competition, though. Let's just say that over the years. So again, hey, my trophy, Alexander Ovechkin, you deserve it. Great job. In fact, we haven't even actually, you popped it, but I didn't. So here we go.
Cheers to that. Cheers.
Congratulations.
To many, many more. I can see him getting up to 950. What's 1,000 for this man? He's going to continue to.
Last thing can I say about Ovechkin right now? Some of you have saw on X, he's taken it to his media. Dominic Hasek is not happy. He's very upset because of what's happening in the war in Ukraine. He doesn't like the players getting acknowledged. He feels they shouldn't be playing. I have personally, because I know a lot of us don't get the take. We don't get Dominic Hasek's take. I have personally asked Dominic if he'd be willing and want to come on our show to share, because we do believe everybody has an opinion and everybody has a right to their own opinion, even if we don't all agree. So I doubt that Hasek's going to come on, but I have opened that up. So any of you, if you are tweeting and Hasek happens to tweet with you, say, hey, Two Guys in Hockey Talk said they'd love to have you come on their show. So just remind him again, because he doesn't have an open DM box. So I'd love to really hear more than just a long text of what Dominic's thing is and how he would explain it against players, because I know a lot of players say, even if he doesn't agree with Putin, and I don't want to get into the war stuff here, but even if he doesn't agree, do you really start opening your mouth when you got family back in Russia?
I mean, that's a discussion for another time. So we'll leave it be. There's always something else. You guys can let us know your thoughts. Overall, great feature, incredible go of it. I know he talked about how he wants to go for beers with Crosby after it's all done. They both retired to kind of talk about it and just share the memories. The one tweet, and of course the tweets were great that night that he scored. The one tweet that really, really made me laugh or chuckle when I read it, Evan, I don't know if you saw it. It was, well, now Gretzky is 1 goal away from beating Alex Ovechkin's record of 895.
Could you imagine
if you get on your skates? Yeah.
Could you? Okay. I'm not going to talk bad about the Oilers organization. In fact, we'll talk a little bit more later about the Oilers. But could I just say, this is one time I could see the Oilers, if it wasn't late in the season, of saying, Gretzky, we're good. If this was the retirement of Ovechkin, let's just say, I could see them saying, we got enough guys for Gretzky to play a few games just to get him a couple goals and come out of retirement after 20 plus years, right? Or 30 years, 26 years it's been. I believe he left in 99, right? The year of his jersey. 26 years to beat that record. No one thought it would ever be beaten. Wow. So maybe we should move over to the Oilers, and I'd like to talk about two things. In a moment, do you have something you want to do before we go there?
I wanted a quick thing. So who do you believe right now is active in the NHL that potentially could even challenge Ovechkin for that title? Because no one ever thought it could be done. Now I'll throw out some names there that potentially could be there.
Okay, let's do it.
We've got Connor McDavid, potentially. Leon Draisaitl, Austin Matthews. If he gets a good center playing with him and they can become competitive again, David Pasternak. These are just some of the names that I could consider putting up those kind of numbers. Is there any one of these four and or anyone else you could think of that could compete? Go ahead.
One. Now, Pasternak, he's getting too old. No. I said I think in his case he's too old to start getting like 60 goal seasons or something like that along the line. I think he's got a few seasons. He's not on a strong enough team. McDavid, he's too busy assisting on everything. Even on his best year so far in his prime, he's only got 62, something like 64 maybe. Yeah, just short. Yeah. I was looking at this myself, actually. I think the only possibility, and this takes longevity, would be Leon Draisaitl. He literally is very much like Ovechkin and how he lines up, how he feeds off the play. But along that line, to me, he's the only one that would look to even have a chance to come close to it. And I think even if he has a fabulous career, he's probably, because you got to remember, Ovechkin's probably got at least another 2 years himself. Well, at least one more year, minimum.
One more year,
yeah. So,
go ahead.
So before we go over, because we are talking somewhere on the Oilers, last thing I just want to say on Ovi, I would like to see this year if I could have my ultimate Stanley Cup final, and next week let's start getting into the Stanley Cup playoffs and start talking about who we see going where. But hypothetically, I think this would be so much fun to see the Edmonton Oilers and the Washington Capitals. First time ever in the Stanley Cup. And can I just say this? I know Oiler fans will hate me. I'm not even an Ovechkin fan, but that would be incredible to see him score a lot of goals in the playoffs and then retire as a champion.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Well, I think he can come back for one more year, but yes, because he's got one more year on his contract.
I thought this was his season end. No,
is this there? We can double check quickly.
Yeah, we have to check. So, but anyway,
one more year.
Yes, okay. So that means he's probably going to sign another single year. I'm guessing he's going to play close to Crosby.
I think he's done next year. He's indicated.
Man, look at this guy. Well, he hasn't really indicated. He's going to go game by game.
He did indicate. He's had interviews that he's done after this.
But I have not heard a single interview saying that after this year.
I'm very tuned into the Russian media.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I think your Russian media is that young little boy who was tweeting you saying he looks up to you as his mentor. That was over. And by the way, what are you talking to young little boys in Russia for? Okay.
He's going to get so taken out of context. Anyway,
okay.
The Oilers.
Okay, can I just say that young little boy's a hockey player? No. Oh, that's even worse. Next thing, we're going to call you Coach Cat. Okay, let's go to the Oilers. I got the jersey up tonight. News just came out. Connor McDavid is going to dress up. He's going to dress against the Blues. It's going to be his first game back. I think. And can I say, why are Oiler fans mad that Connor McDavid is dressing? He needs to sit out more. He shouldn't be. Would you just relax? Listen, if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, you have Evander Kane coming back. And by the way, he will be back, I believe, for the first game of the playoffs, not the second round that some people have been advertising. Can I just say why? It's called reading between the lines. Paul Coffey was on the Bob Stauffer show with forget who covers for him, Brendan Escott. And he said to him, they said, well, it'll be great to see him in the first round of the playoffs. Paul Coffey said it, not me. He's one of the assistant coaches of the team. So I trust that going, hey, Kyle, how you doing, man? So first of all, I think you're going to have Kane back. Looking like Trent Frederick will be ready to go. 2 big bruisers, even putting him on the third line, occasionally on the second when you need a push, depending on Kane. Now you add Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl back into. You add Matthias Ekholm. You have a healthy, now Nuge is off right now because he's sick with a illness. He'll be back. Being able to play where the pressure is not on him. I think he's going to love it. And then you do get your number one goaltender back, like or dislike him. Stu Skinner is still a much better goaltender in their system. He can still win the games for you. I think they're going to be a force to reckon with, just so you know. But
well, I agree with you. I'm a little worried about Trent Frederick. I think he's going to become Mike Green 2.0. I think the Oilers overpaid for someone who seems to be injury prone, and I worry that he's going to be able to stay healthy for a full 16-game season. Now, he has played quite a few games this year for Boston, as Kyle, who's a big fan of the team, knows. But I worry about him because of the type of game he plays. So if his minutes maybe are diminished, sure. But, I mean, at any point, there could be an incident like there was versus Anaheim where there was a scary incident with Paul Colson. Fortunately, he was able to return to the game. And you want to rest in McDavid and Draisaitl because you want to be competitive because it's going to be an exciting run against especially the LA Kings who, it's going to be even keeled. They're not, Edmonton is not the favorites there. So it'll be interesting to see. It's also going to dictate what's going to happen with Evan Bouchard's next contract because there's a lot of rumblings about there. And so as I indicated earlier, look at the Jacob Chikrin contract, but Evan, I'm hearing between, and he's an RFA, I can't see them going lower than 10.5 million at 8 years, of course. Now, sure, the cap's going up. A lot of Edmonton fans are kind of holding on because this is not an ideal situation. Now, Nurse has played up to his contract this season. However, he's still, I don't think a lot of fans' eyes, a 9.25 player. But, he got the bag. He's playing. He needs to be there. What does Bouchard command, and what does that look like?
And let's face it, you brought up a really good point. It's called the cap. You got to work within the cap system. Chikrin got what he's getting for 2 reasons. He's playing at the perfect right time with what they need in Washington. He's playing well. He's playing the best he's ever played. He's learned more of the defensive game, and he's adjusted and adapted. Gets enough points to get a higher contract. Plus, he's playing in a world where everyone knows he's going to be a UFA, so the whole thing goes up. You're paying for UFA years. That's what's happening with Bouchard. You're paying for UFA years. Remember, I think some of you folks forget the playoffs last year. The most goals. He beat out Paul Coffey. I mean, it is an amazing stat. So wait for these playoffs. He's not getting that contract likely until after the playoffs. Yes. I frankly would sign him now because if he has another playoff like that could even go higher. Those numbers. So you're going to be paying, but I would agree with you, Pavel. I think if it wasn't like the cap was a slight increase, I think you're still looking about the Chikrin contract max, but Chikrin would have got about $1 million less. But because of the numbers, I think you're between. You're saying 10 to 10.5, and I'm going to say 10.25 to 10.75. Do I agree with it? I'd be willing to give up that contract and bring in another defenseman. Guys,
well, if he's worth that much, if somebody offer sheets him, because he's got to get at least 9.5, whatever that cap is.
Exactly. So if to get that money,
you give up what is it? 4 first-round picks.
4 first-round picks at those dollars, and you have all that money now to go spend another on that. Another player.
I would love that.
So I think they could do it.
So a few other things. Speaking of defensemen, we know that it looks like Lane Hudson is most likely going to run away with the Calder. Now, Calgary's still technically in the running for the playoffs, and I do like Dustin Wolf's game. I think he's really helped Calgary stabilize and be competitive all season. Again, they need a little bit more up front. I agree that I think Nazem Kadri and Jonathan Huberdeau have really bought in to Brett Huska's or Brett Huska, Doug Huska's. We know Brett, but we know into the Huska head coaching plan. But I think Lane Hudson is really going to run it with the Calder. But speaking of elite defensemen that are coming into their own, it sounds like Kent Hughes has announced that Ivan Devanov is coming over to play for this team. Now, this 19-year-old kid from Russia, from the KHL, is being loaned out. His playoff ends. He can still return next year for one more year, but he's coming in. He signed his 3-year entry-level deal. Now, there's no official partnership with the KHL and NHL, but there's kind of an understanding, as people may not know. And so what does he bring to this exciting, electric, young, dynamic team from Montreal, who's been red hot, Evan, since the Four Nations?
Yeah. So a couple things here, just so people understand. So Demidov, you cannot, when they're under contract, his contract runs to the end of June, then it's his option to out of the, so he can come on his own without having to pay anything to SCA. They own his rights only for that next extra year. Should he go back after that year, it's open. Now, in his case, his player rep works with the KHL to see if they can buy themselves out of that contract. But they have mutually agreed at no pricing to do that whatsoever. And I'll talk later about a KHL movement of another player actually looking to be on his way. But yeah, so this case, what he brings, I believe he goes into the top 6 immediately. They've got 5 games where they're not scoring a power play goal, yet they had been well. So maybe he doesn't start there, but if they don't score, he ends up there because he'll be on the second power play if not. And if you guys have never watched Demidov, you are in for a thrill. Can I just say, I have made a decision now with the playoffs. I am excited about watching the Montreal Canadiens in that first round. You guys know who they get. They get Ovechkin.
We don't know yet. We don't
we know already. Yeah.
Well, I mean, unless the Rangers turn around, yes. Now,
okay, that's not going to happen. And you're looking at in my opinion.
Montreal, Washington fans. Now it's Rangers fans. What's your next target?
Oh, come on, Rangers. There's no way. Okay, forget it. I'm not even going to go there. I just don't see the Rangers doing it. They haven't showed it. Montreal has they got all the momentum going in. I think you're looking at the playoffs and Demidov versus Ovechkin.
That would be very interesting.
And I want a first round upset. I just said I want Washington in the cup for fun, but now I also want an upset by Demidov leading the Montreal Canadiens in the playoffs. That would be so much fun, brother.
We are gonna do our NHL playoff predictions soon, so we hope you guys can join us and share what you believe and who potentially could win where out of all the series. We'll go through them all, but what I wanted to kind of indicate about this whole situation is that even though it looks like Montreal will make it in, unlike other teams like a Washington, like a Winnipeg Jets, there's still a little bit of hesitancy, Evan, with the team making it. And I think it's hard to justify putting in a young rookie in that position because it's a big stage. Montreal can get loud. The barn is wild. And I know their fans are very passionate. And so I believe you have to be very mindful not to overwhelm the kid. It's a different sheet of ice, different expectations. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm saying it's a big, tall order, and I'm looking forward to watching him play. But I think Montreal potentially could be one of those teams. Now, speaking of other teams in the Atlantic, unfortunately, Buffalo once again has been eliminated from the playoffs. 14 seasons in a row. I cannot fathom being a fan of this team. I would struggle. They're on a heater right now because they always do this at the end of the season, but they've got, they got to do something. So quick thoughts on what Buffalo does in the offseason. They just got a new coach. Is it the GM? You did some trades. Like what are you doing here? What are you bringing in?
I'm shocked. I can't see the GM's got to be gone here.
Kevin Adams,
Yeah, well, I was not a pro Kevin Adams choice. I think they need to step out of they need to bring in someone solid with a solid history of winning who has been a general manager. Don't bring in a fresh new guy. Don't do that because you shouldn't be doing a rebuild. You got too much there right now sitting, and you got to be able to get the most out of them. And they're coaching. You got to bring in a coach who can actually work with these young type players. They keep bringing in coaches that actually don't. They either let them do what they want or they're too hard on them. And they got to find that middle ground. Look at a guy like Dylan Cousins when he gets out, right? It's right now they have to change that culture. And I think that the best way to do it is start from the GM, let him come in and rebuild that part of it. Can I just say, if they change the GM, I have a prediction. Next season, change the GM, let him come in, build the culture, make a couple moves that he's going to need to make, and it'll be a couple risky ones. And they make a wild card shot next year.
Wow. Okay.
But leave that GM, and you're in for another draft selection.
But there's a new rule now where even if they're if you've picked in the last 5 years in the top 10 or top 5, that you get excluded essentially moving forward. Wasn't that one of the rules in the draft?
Top 5?
Yeah. Like if they're right now they're middle of the pack, right? I don't know if they'll fall to the bottom like a Chicago or San Jose, but my understanding is if you win in the draft in the first round, in the first top 5 picks, don't you get disqualified from later on? So you're not consistently winning the first overall pick or the first 3 picks in the first round, or am I wrong?
Let me take a look at that. I'm trying to pull up the rule book right now. So
yeah. So in terms of that, we'll see what Buffalo does. I think they need to get some more veteran leadership. I think that's what's going to really, really help the team kind of stabilize. Now, in other news, Ottawa has clinched for the playoffs, the first time since 2017. Another great Canadian team market story. We know the behind the scenes things that happened with the purchase of the team. I know they're working Steve Stais and Michael Antlauer in terms of figuring everything out, but it looks like Ottawa's going to get its first taste of postseason. They may face off with Toronto in the Battle of Ottawa or Ontario. Should be fun. And I mean, I would not take the Ottawa Senators lightly. Now they are inexperienced, but again, if I'm looking at an upset, that's one team that could potentially make some noise. Not saying they'll go far, but make some noise. Your thoughts on Ottawa Senators and what they bring going forward with some of the key pieces there, like Claude Giroux, Tim Stutzla, Brady Tkachuk, with what he was able to do at the Four Nations and what he's going to bring.
Yeah. I think that if you're an Ottawa fan, you're pretty excited. You've built a solid foundation. You should have been there a couple of years earlier, but they've got some good extra picks to go with. Making the change, bringing Allmark in, I think was a great deal. They've already had some guys in the system. So right now they're going to be a tough out. They could be a surprise. They're pumped and ready to go. And I don't think Tim Stützle has even shown us what he can do yet. I think you guys, the playoffs could be that place for him to say, hey, look at me, everybody. I think you forgot that I exist.
Now, it's hard to kind of always sometimes talk about heavy news, and there's no easy way to transition, but we did lose another member of the game today, Ray Shero, who was a Minnesota Wild advisor and a previous GM for the New Jersey Devils and the Pittsburgh Penguins, where he won a cup in 2009, has passed away. Gary Bettman made a statement talking about how Ray Shero smiled and lit up everybody in a room when he walked in. You know, he had a talent, knack for building a talent, an eye for talent, and, he treated everyone well. And so we're sad, and we send our thoughts and condolences to the Shero family. And so it's tough. It's never easy. Any quick thoughts on Ray Shero?
I think the guy was always a champion. You got to appreciate what he brought to the game. I would say very much the same as Bettman says on the smile, his personality, being a guy that followed the Penguins in the day. I appreciate what he brought. He had a great attitude to what he did, and he will be definitely missed, obviously, by his family and his friends, but he's going to be missed by the hockey world.
Agreed. And there was someone else you wanted to talk about that we lost from the game.
Yeah, so Greg Millen. Greg Millen was a former goaltender. I believe he played for 5 teams in the NHL. I remember him with the Hartford Whalers. And it's now not just there. I also remember him in Vancouver. They were going through a tough time. He came in he never was one of those star goaltenders. He had moments in time. His numbers don't always say the most, but where he made his mark? In broadcasting. In the broadcasting world, he had such a mind and an understanding for the game of hockey. So that is definitely going to be a big miss for the hockey world. And again, at such a young age being lost, this season feels like we've lost so many people in the hockey world community. It's absolutely almost insane But I definitely will miss hearing his calls, and I'll miss him on, as we used to know it, Hockey Night in Canada on CBC.
Yeah, it's never easy. And I did want to also mention that it sounds like Chaz Lucius, who was a first-round draft pick in 2021, number 18 by the Jets, is no longer able to play the game of hockey. He has retired. He only played 25 games, but it's because he dealt with something known as Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a group of disorders that affects connective tissues supporting the skin, bones, blood vessels, and other organs. You never want to see it. It's tough. We wish him all the best in his future. Hopefully, there's something that he can do to continue to live his life beyond hockey, because the world is bigger than beyond hockey. But it's sad to see another young, healthy prospect be lost to something like this in terms of not being able to compete at that high level. So we wish him all the best. We hope it finds its footing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and there's, again, no easy way to transition from this, but we know a few more teams have clinched and or have been eliminated. And one team I wanted to ask you about is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have now lost 3 straight in a row. What do we make of what Kyle Dubas has done with his team, and what do we make of Sidney Crosby moving forward? Because it's been a tough season. He's still performed at an elite level. He's still a point-per-game guy, competing after 20 years still in the game. What do you make of Pittsburgh, Evan?
Can I say I'm speechless right now for Pittsburgh? I feel for their fans. I feel for the franchise that has been an iconic franchise. It's had some of the best players in the history of the game. Going back to their early days even, and then right through into the 80s and 90s with Mario Lemieux, and into the 2000s with Sidney Crosby and Jaromir Jagr and Ron Francis. And I remember guys like Sergei Gonchar playing back there. I mean, Tom Barrasso. There's so many players that have gone. I remember when we had Johan Hedberg come in, and everyone looked at the Moose, who came from Manitoba with the AHL, and thought there was something great coming out of there. They had Marcus Naslund. They traded him away. Those are the things I remember about that team. And now I'm just like, where do you go from here? Because they wanted to keep these guys together, and talking about Letang and Carlson in there with them. And I think we're in for a big shakeup this offseason. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Crosby's not going anywhere. He's got what he's always wanted. He wants to go out with a single team. I truly believe everything I hear from people around him. He keeps everything close to his sleeve. Even if he'd like the idea, I don't think he would do it. As much as people like to dream him going and joining Nathan McKinnon.
For sure. And in other news, the Masterton Trophy nominations have been announced. I know that as we're trickling into the postseason, they're going to start announcing all the awards here. But some impressive names that you probably recognize is Gabriel Landeskog, who now is skating with Colorado's affiliate team. It doesn't mean anything, but it sounds like he may return to the playoffs. Now, if people recall, Stamkos did something similar during the Bubbles playoffs. He came in on a shift, scored. That's how impactful he was. But others such as John Gibson, Jason Zucker in Buffalo, as we talked about, Drew Doughty for Los Angeles, David Perron in Ottawa, and of course, Thomas Hertl in Vegas, along with Ovechkin in Washington. So it'll be interesting to see who will be, but this is an award that's often picked by the Professional Hockey Writers Association, who at best exemplifies perseverance, sportsmanship, and a dedication to the ice. I wouldn't be surprised if Ovechkin got it just because of the record being broken, but there's some other pretty incredible names on there, and it just goes to show you the game of hockey, as we talked about a little bit earlier, transcends all. So it's pretty impressive.
Can I ask you a question? Now, cats have, my understanding, cats have really good eyesight. Is that true?
I believe
okay.
So, yeah.
Now, I'm sure, I know you are a cat in the hockey world, and you were just telling me earlier, I was saying the Rangers could come in and take the Montreal spot. And I'm actually sitting here looking at the numbers, and Montreal would have to lose their next 4 games, and New York would have to win their next 5 to be tied. Montreal could win one game and they'd be tied. So Montreal would have to go 1-3, and New York would have to go 5-0 to even be tied. How do you give them a chance? I'm confused.
Because we have fans from the New York region, and what's it called? I believe that you have to believe, as Lloyd Christmas in Dumb and Dumber said. So you're saying there's a chance. There is always a chance.
And then there's some, in today's world, I find some people say, man, just cut the heartache. We ain't going nowhere if we get in, and we want a better draft pick. Oh, man. Yeah, I get it, though. I get it. And that's going to be a whole other story. We got to bring someone on to talk more around kind of what's happening in that part of the world.
We will get to that. All right. I know you wanted to get to a little bit of Around the Rink, I believe. Is that correct?
Let's do it. If you're a fan of hard-hitting, exciting hockey, catch the Kalkaska Battlers.
Around the Rink
is brought to you by the Kalkaska Battlers. Let them be your local hockey heroes. Well, guys, we were talking a while back. I was giving some texts out. I've been saying we'll keep a follow-up. What's happening with Isaac Howard? So just a heads up, Isaac Howard has been playing with Michigan State University. He is the first-round pick in 2022. Now, Tampa Bay fans were thinking everything was looking, and I made the report that they were going to be able to sign him and get him a few games in. They could cut off 1 year of his elite level contract because that's one of the things NCAA players do. And then it was looking like it might be a toss-up if he would even sign. Well, he is now a finalist this season for the Hobey Baker Award for the best player in the NCAA. So the 2020 winner will be announced on Friday. So we're only a couple days away. Competing with him are Minnesota Wild prospect Z Buem and also Boston College, and you guys know Washington Capitals forward Ryan Leonard. So those are two of the players he's up against. So it shows you how good he is. However, he is staying with Michigan State University. That means, and they're going to be stacked. I think MSU wins it next year for their season. I think they take all the tournaments and they take the Frozen Four. That's just my opinion. Isaac Howard, if he is not signed by next season after he finishes, and he is not signed by August, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. Tampa Bay fans are already like up in arms, and they're like, we probably lost this player. And can I just say, this is why I don't like the system agreement with NCAA. And I think a lot of players are going to take this because if they don't want to play for a team, they don't like the idea of the rights, then they just don't. So
I've heard rumblings that I think he will, because Tampa Bay has also really promoted him for this award for the Hobey Baker. And I don't think a team would do that if they didn't have some kind of confidence. Now, again, things can change in a heartbeat.
Tampa has no say on the Hobey Baker, though, right? They can say that they like what's going on, but the Hobey Baker, they're not going to have.
No, but they can promote their guy. Like, this is our guy. He's been.
Oh yeah, of course.
Use your social media team.
Of course.
Well, you know hard on that if you know that there's nothing there. I feel like he's sticking around in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, no. They're. I'm hearing exact opposite. I'm hearing there's some things. He was already upset a little bit about a couple other things around numbers and a few things on traits. So we'll see if there's fire where the smoke was, or if the smoke was just a bunch of stuff that was being riled up around. Usually a player does not go back in that final year. Very few players play for the full four and still for their full amount of time and still come back in when they have a chance. All he's got to do is wait out a couple months, be an unrestricted. Now watch this. He could become a non-restricted free agent and still sign with Tampa Bay, but get a better contract, no longer an elite level contract, because you make more money. Why would you give up millions of dollars? That's my concern. So I think that there's more to this. And so, and the other thing, I just want to say, you guys know Ethan Bear plays for those that don't know, like on defense with the Washington Capitals, an extra defenseman. In this year's draft is Carter Bear over at the Everett Silvertips, who's been injured. Great season. I'm actually, my rankings, when I come out with my top 15, you're going to actually see him in there now. He never was there, even in spite of his injury, which people are worried how he'll come back. But he is the cousin of the Ethan Bear, just so people can recognize this. So here's another Indigenous man going to be going in the first round. Things are changing. And don't forget, the next year you have Gavin McKenna, who is another Indigenous man. Things are changing in the world, man.
Yeah. And just so for context, so people are aware, in the last few years, the winners of this award were Macklin Celebrini last year, Adam Fantilli the year before, Dryden McKay the year before, the goaltender, of course, and Cole Caulfield, who won it in 2021. So some big name company that you find yourself on there. You guys can let us know who you
right.
Win.
So a couple other things around the rink. We'll finish off with CHL playoffs here. But the ECHL, which is the Minor Farm League Association for the AHL. So a lot of times they share teams. So a new expansion team that has been now brought in by the Spittin' Chicklets, Whitney and Paul Bissonnette. They're called the Greensboro Gargoyles. They are out of Greensboro, North Carolina, and guess where they will be? The new farm team, it looks like, of the Carolina Hurricanes. So, guys, this will be an interesting mix because being the owners, they're not going to put up with things from the ownership in Carolina being too cheap, though, I don't think either. So, I don't know. They are ECHL, so they're secondary. They're removed by a few layers, you might say.
For sure. So that starts up on Saturday, April 12th, as we're just indicating right now. So you can take a look. It'll be interesting. Make sure to go check it out because that is some great hockey. And Zilstra asks, is that the ECHL?
Yes, it is the ECHL, very specifically. That's a great call on there, asking that question. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up my information here. So the WHL playoffs, what a great time right now, man. If you are interested, just trying to get some stuff pulled up here quickly. So if you are a guy that has got a chance to follow, I have been purposely on full follow right now for the Medicine Hat Tigers and watching Oasis Westblot and Gavin McKenna just literally doing circles. So I want you to catch this right now in the playoffs, okay? We're talking playoffs. They have 5 games in, and Gavin McKenna has 16 points in the first round. 16 points in 5 games. So that is over 3 points a game. And the last game, he only had 2, which actually he could have easily. He was on the ice for another one of the goals. It was a lower scoring game. The goalie stood on his head. Gavin McKenna looks like he's doing nothing out there half the time, too. But he's always in the right spot. He can pull that puck in, can hold it in tight quarters. I really wonder if he's going NCAA next year to play against bigger guys. I know in the rumor, it's not going to be talked about till he's eliminated from the playoffs. But you got to wonder, is it really worth him playing right now in the WHL? Would it be better for him to move out? And by the way, what would our friend Jordan Robert think if Gavin McKenna left the strong WHL and left to go play in the stronger NCAA, because he likes to tease me about the NCAA?
That's true. That's true. And speaking of McKenna, he also has come out fire since his suspension. Remember the one against the Oil Kings?
I know.
It's for whatever reason that got him going. That
129 points in 56 games, and so watch this, guys. He had 32 more points this year with 5 less games. 5 less games. Literally, he scored 7 more goals in 5 less games. His last playoff, even last season, he had 6 points in 5 games. I was at those games as well. So yeah, I've been trying to follow. There is a place, by the way. I'll just put this out there. It is a free streaming service. I know it is in Canada. So if you guys don't get this, I just found this because I've been doing like WHL Live and stuff, but you can get WHL games on Victory Plus. Okay. It's called Victory Plus, And you can get yourself, actually, you can actually get Women's National Football Conference, watch a whole bunch of women's football too. It's got Anaheim Ducks games. It's got Texas Rangers baseball, but it has WHL, and it also has SHL. You can watch some Swedish hockey league. So I've been able to find a few other places, and it is a free download stream app. So again, it's called Victory Plus. I want you guys to be able to follow some of this stuff. A lot of times you don't end up going to WHL games or CHL with the Q and or the Ontario until you actually start seeing some of these games played, man. So and grab Flow Sports if you want to watch the BCHL around there. And before I go, I'm not going to take a lot of time there because I've been sharing so much around the CHL and the playoffs. BCHL ready to go. They've got, I'm going to bring it out next week. We have a video I want to show you that they're promoting. I think it's important, you guys, just a few minutes to catch it. A lot of people think that they're done, that things are happening. The ownership has kept the Penticton Bees. They're going to move them, but they don't know where. And if Chilliwack gets a WHL expansion, they're going to just move that team somewhere else. They're keeping ownership of that team. So they might be delayed for a year. But the BCHL is still showing itself as the only route. And remember, their focus is much like the NCAA for prep. Instead of like all week long playing games like in the CHL, they will actually take time to train and do school during the week. And then on weekends play more of their games in style. So they still have a lot to offer, even though the major juniors now are the place. And one last thing, NCAA, everyone's excited, and they're saying, oh, they're going to steal all these players from the CHL. Another player just signed from the CHL that was a second-round draft pick. I don't see them signing a lot of players. I think they're going to be very few that they're going to sign that are high-echelon players. Very few. It's going to be guys maybe like a guy that would come in like maybe a Gavin McKenna. They might be able to grab for 1 year. They might be able to grab someone like a Connor Bedard for 1 year, like a couple of those players. But I feel like that's almost sad, Pavel, because that's almost unfair to the NCAA, like to the fans of the game. Oh, we'll bring them in for 1 year so you can see them. It'll be all about money. That's all.
100%. And I think before we finalize, remember, if you guys go back to our episodes with like head coaches like Jesse Peters or director of scouting Dan Terser, sometimes these kids are looking for whatever opportunity they can get, right? Not everyone's going to be able to be a Gavin McKenna, a Landa DuPont. You know, they're taking their chances. And if they believe that this is the best place that they can play and get the most ice time and have the best opportunity in growing and developing their game, their skill, and being recognized, but potentially whether it is a college in NCAA or Europe or wherever, and they're en route to the NHL, they're going to take it. So, you know, there's a lot of avenues, but there's also limitations to how many spots there are on each roster. So it'll be interesting to see.
And again, if there's expansion in the NCAA Div 1, that will change everything too.
For sure. So that's been Around the Rink.
If you're a fan of hard-hitting, exciting hockey, catch the Kalkaska Battlers.
Around the Rink
is brought to you by the Kalkaska Battlers. Let them be your local hockey heroes.
All right, Zilstra says, hoping I can get in a silver playoff tips game. And poor Jordan. And you indicated, you found it earlier, that it is the NHL entry draft rules is the team cannot win the draft lottery more than twice in a 5-year span. So that was the rule.
Winning. Yeah, it's just winning the lottery, right?
So that's what it is. So,
and of course, and you can only move up within 10 spots. So even if you won and you moved up 10 spots but didn't get the first overall, you could still, only win. So it's winning the lottery is the difference too.
And this guy's was earlier talking about Buffalo and what it is. So, yeah, we've got 5 more minutes left because we don't want to be 2 guys in overtime, as we're also known here. Where do you want to take this?
Let's leave hockey history tonight. I do want to mention the Carolina Hurricanes. Another news about them. It looks like I haven't saw any details today, but as of yesterday, Alexander Nikishin. You guys can go look him up on your elite prospects and stuff. He looks like he will possibly sign with the Carolina Hurricanes. So again, he's under contract with SKA, same group as Demidov, until June 1st. Okay. But to get off early, there needs to be his player rep has to negotiate with the KHL. The NHL cannot correspond with the KHL in any way. So it's required on the player rep to do the work, get out, and then if there's a reimbursement of sorts from the team, they could. So the player rep can talk to the team, the player rep can talk to them, but the NHL team cannot be involved. But Alexander Nikishin, and they like to get him in possibly just for a game or two before the end of the season and have him for the playoffs. So they're working on negotiation for his rights here.
All right. Awesome. Anyone else before we finalize?
So we're talking about the earlier at the beginning. We started with the Rookie of the Year. I don't think Dustin Wolf belongs in that category any longer. I do believe that Celebrini does, and I believe Lane Hudson. I do have one. Too. Yeah, and Mishkov now. Yeah, I would move Mishkov above Wolf now because of what. Okay. But again, what I will say is one thing I didn't realize. I was so excited and all the hype with Lane Hudson. He almost has nothing for goals. He's an assist machine, which takes away a little bit of that credibility for me. Because when you're talking about dominance, when you talk about like Cale Makar, over 30 goals, this guy, right? Now, maybe Lane moves into that, but usually you don't start off that low. I would still pick Hudson because of what he's done. But, man, Celebrini is right behind it. He's playing on a bad team. Hudson's on a good team. Montreal's an up-and-coming team. But something about Celebrini people don't recognize. He is winning almost 50% on his faceoffs this season, all year long. He's not a huge guy. He's like a Crosby size, not even as thick in the tree trunk legs, but he's almost 50%. You had like 43% or something in his first season for Sidney Crosby. A whole bunch of even Connor McDavid wasn't that great. Austin Matthews had some struggles. But Celebrini is almost at 50, which tells me you could be looking at a star faceoff guy like a Crosby in that faceoff center for Celebrini. And his shooting, he is shooting far more than Bedard ever did in his first or the second season. I do see Bedard's shooting going up. And the last thing is, I know I'm not trying to cause rumors or havoc, but I am hearing, not from the players, but from on the outside people that are close to the team, that there is rumblings that Bedard is quiet. Bedard is not getting upset or angry, but him and the coach, they're not connecting. There's some disconnect, and some people don't like the way the coaches are handling Connor Bedard. So, again, that could just be a rumor, but I do want to get that out there just to say, hey, because a lot of people are asking what's wrong with Bedard. It actually makes sense if there's something not gelling. It doesn't mean anyone's doing anything wrong, but could there not be a good fit? And I think if that's the truth, we're going to know in the offseason, Pavel. Because if that, they'll make a move, whether it's maybe, I don't know if it's the coach, if it's an assistant coach, what it is, if it's even true. So, but
I think they're going to go after Marner hard. I don't know if it's going to happen. I know they're going to go after Marner hard. I think, he's going to be a top guy because they're going to want him to play with Bedard, just to have a good winger like that, an elite playmaker, two elite playmakers who can feed the puck off each other. Whether it happens, I don't know. I know we've talked about this before, but
and I agree. You know what I'm actually thinking too. I'm actually thinking that you're looking at both San Jose and Chicago going hard if Marner comes open, and he'll get more money. The guy could probably get $11 million if he goes to either one of those teams. He's making, he's going to get paid more than 11. He's close to 11 right now. How much did I say?
You said 11 million.
Oh, sorry. My apology. I was talking 13 on the top end because of the cap and the teams coming in. Yeah. And then the other thing is my prediction right now, before we even hit playoffs, before anything comes, before we know who goes first or second overall, I'm going to predict right now Michael Misa will be a center for the Chicago Blackhawks at the end of the draft.
Okay, well, you heard it here first. We are going to finish up here. We know the playoffs are starting up here very soon. The last game of the regular season is Thursday, April 17th. So that is next week. So our final show next week, tune in because we are going to be talking all things playoffs postseason. My favorite time of the year. It's going to be exciting. So remember to give us a follow here on Facebook, on YouTube. Go subscribe. We are getting up there to 100. We're almost there. Need a few more. Keep recommending us to your friends, family, whoever will listen to you on the street. Just shout it from the rooftops. You can find us on X/Twitter at REVNEV or myself at hockey_2. We are always talking and sharing hockey content. We have all our articles up with our former guests. We are always there, and we want to shout out our sponsors. If you want to be a sponsor, reach out to us. We'd love to partner with you and connect with you. We always love hearing from you. Thank you again for a wonderful episode, everyone, for tuning in. It's been a ring-a-ding-dong dandy. Evan, any final thoughts before we wrap up the show?
Appreciate it, everybody. Thanks again to Nevada, man. You topped the charts again in the state of Nevada in the United States of America. And also like to say thank you. Seeing a whole bunch of folks starting to come from Norway, checking out the show. Appreciate it. In the meantime, and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe. See you guys next week.